Thanks for tuning in to Bourbon Drop. I'm your host, Myron. Today, I've got one massive bottle haul for you guys. Yes, it's been dry January. Yes, I have not had a drink since January 1st at 0000, which is for my people out there in the military time for midnight when it first turned to January 1. Man, this has been a wild ride. I think I've bought more bottles in the month of dry January than I've ever bought ever on this channel in a month ever. And I've done some big hauls before, but this one is massive, man. I got some hitters on here. If you saw my other Weller Drop video, you already know what two of the bottles are. Actually three, because I picked up three in that video are that will be on here today. But the last bottle that's going to be on the list is a bottle that I've only seen twice, and actually in the last month since I started really hunting for bottles. Yes, it's an allocated bottle, EH something. We're just going to say that. So stick around to the end. Thank you guys so much for making Bourbon Drop have another successful year in 2024. I can't thank you guys enough. Also, thank you guys for selling out our Westward picks. Poor decisions. We really can't thank you guys enough. One of those bottles will be on here tonight too. I'll explain that for a particular reason. But also, don't forget about the Poor Decisions Bees Knees pick. Shout out to Matt and Sean for doing two great, awesome picks that they always go head to head about. If you love a bourbon finished in a honey barrel, you will love these picks. All right, let's get into it, man. So, first bottle up on the list. It's so many down here. I'm telling you, I don't know which one. Okay, since it was dry January, yes, I've got a little bit of tea going on right here. We are going to get into a bottle that always tells me whether or not my palate is working or not. Because after the last dry January, my palate was wrecked, man. It took like 2 to 3 weeks. Everything was like super spicy because like I shot a video, and shout out to Dave Vogel saying I shot a video with Michter's 10, and it was good, like really good. But I was like, why is the 93 proof bourbon spicy? And even though I was getting like some cherry notes, it just something seemed a little off. And I went to different bourbons, and I said, I don't know, man. I said something's going on. So like, it got better, of course, over the next few weeks or so, but it took a while. So this will probably be my first sip at 0000 hours tonight when it flips over to February 1st. If I am chilling by myself, or if I'm on Matt from Whiskey Wisdom's Live. So, just be on the lookout for Matt from Whiskey Wisdom Lives every Friday. They're always fire, man. All right, so next bottle up. This bottle I purchased because I wanted to do an experiment. So this is regular Larceny. You guys know I am not the biggest fan of regular Larceny, but the experiment was to take the spiral out of the Oak and Eden and see if I could do like a French oak spiral finish on Larceny and make it palatable, because the regular Larceny, I'm sorry, man, it just does nothing for me. But I put this thing up for 30 days, starting on the 1st, 31 days actually, because today's the 31st. I put it over top of the cabinets, over top of the stove. I put it over like a heater vent. I put it beside a heater so that the bottle heats up. I was trying to get as much of this Larceny liquid in and out of that spiral as much as possible to get that thing to try and influence the flavor, to see if I can make Larceny drinkable. So that will be a fun video. Half of that video has already been shot, so stick around for that video. Stay tuned for the channel. All right, now next bottle up was the bottle that I want to put it up against when the Larceny finally gets to a point where I think it's ready. And if it does change, like I said, you guys will see that video. I do want to put it up against Maker's 46, because to me, Maker's 46 cask strength is a beast. It can hang with any of the Maker special releases, and I think it is worth putting up against something like that to see if maybe I could even make a cheaper version of 46. I don't know. All right, so since we, we're kind of on that Larceny train, I got these next two bottles for $51.99. Yes, $52. The Virginia ABC had them on sale. You guys know how much I like these two bottles. Yes, it's the same release, but I told you guys when it came to Virginia, I was going to buy backup after backup after backup. This is the Larceny C924. I am a huge fan of the Larceny C924. I think this thing is phenomenal. It made my number 5 of 2024. I mean, I can't say anything else about it. It is just that good. Now, look, this is only a fraction of the bottles, so I am going to run out of room. I know I'm going to have to cut this video and move some of these bottles off the screen. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Cheers with a mug of tea. All right, so next bottle up, 2 more bottles. Went to Nicks of Clinton. And I've been hunting these things, man. I've been hunting these things. So this is not the OBSO. This is the OESK and the OBSF 4 Roses. These are the new single barrel 4 Roses. These are the recipes. Each individual recipe that they release instead of batching them together and making, you know, whatever their normal product is. These are just the individual recipes. I do want to get all 10 this year. I think they only released 3, 4 if you include the normal release, which I can't remember what that one is right now. But they were at Nicks of Clinton for $41.99. Can you believe that? $42. Now, that is the cheapest I've seen them anywhere for. I was at BK Miller. They had them for $49.99. I believe the Virginia ABC has them for around $49.99 or $52.99, something like that. But $42, man. I had to grab both of them. And the guy told me, he said, look, he said, we're supposed to get the third one. He said, so if you come back, it'll be right here. And he had a space cleaned out for it. But he was like, you know, I just don't know when we're getting it in yet. Spoiler alert, I've been back to that store time after time, Nicks of Clinton, and I haven't seen it. So I don't know if they never got it or they just went that fast. So, all right, let's get to the next bottle because, man, I'm telling you, this was one hell of a haul for the month of January. All right. If you saw my Weller drop video, this is the second Weller pick that I've ever gotten. Like, I never had a Weller Blue Label ever. For the longest time, I think I had the red label before I had the green label. But for the longest time, I had either the red label first and then a green label, or the green label and a red label. And then I was so low in the bottle of the red label, I just didn't want to touch it anymore. The green label, I don't ever really go to that thing. The only time you ever see me with the green label is if I'm on a channel doing something for the channel. Like, I don't drink it on my own. But the foolproof, when I got that pick from S&W, I was like, yeah, I will hunt these from now on. Get the email from BK Miller talking about the foolproof pick, also talking about the auction that they're having at the, I won't say end of the month because they're doing it for the Super Bowl. But all of the money is going to go to charity. That was in the description of the last video. Check that video out. But this is their pick. I cannot wait to get this thing in a glass and put this in a blind with the S&W pick. So like I said, it'll be a little PG battle. It will be an S&W versus BK Miller pick. Someone reached out to me in the comments and said they would love to see me do a pick with a blind with all of the picks in the area. So an Esquire pick, the BK Miller pick, the S&W pick, and I think they named another pick. I would love to do that. That would be an amazing video. However, I only have 2 of the picks, so I can only do 2. All right, we are going to get into, since we have Weller, we're going to actually get into a Weller finished tequila and a Blanton's finished tequila. Now, I'll put pictures up on the screen. This is something that my stepfather just rant and raves about. He is a huge tequila guy, and he knows I'm a big bourbon guy, and he is not the biggest fan of bourbon in the world, but he said, I am telling you, he said, you gotta try it. He said, it has just enough of a hint of bourbon on it that it makes it palatable for him. Because like I said, he's not a big bourbon guy, but he was like, he said, they work so well together. Now, I will be cracking this thing. And since I was there, I was there at the store and noticed that they had them before I purchased them. But then today when I went out hunting, I was at another store that had only one. They had the Blanton. So I said, well, that store, it was the Duke Street store, the one closest to the Harris Teeter and Jordan, if you guys are familiar with the Alexandria area. They had 1 Blanton's and they had about 6 Weller finished tequilas. So while I was at the Joy Street store, they only had 1 Blanton's finished one. And no, they had 2 or 3 Blanton's finished ones. And I was like, let me grab it here just in case the one up on Duke Street is gone when I hit them today. So when I hit them today, it was still sitting on the shelf. But they still had the 6 Weller finished tequila. So I was like, well, whatever. I was like, now I got the set. Because I was going to get the set anyway. But let me get to the next one, because I know you guys on here, you're probably not big tequila fans. While I was at the store today, the Duke Street store, and this was my second time seeing Old Soul Tintype. Now I'm going to get into a video of the bottles that I left behind, so come back to the channel and check that video out, because I got to shoot that video tonight. I left a whole bunch of bottles behind. You guys see a whole bunch of bottles on this table, but just wait. I'm possibly halfway through, right? But there were quite a few bottles that I left behind, and I'll get into that. But anyway, this was sitting right beside the Old Soul Tintype. I'm a huge fan of Old Soul. I have the Premier Spirits pick from South Carolina. I have the Angel Share pick from up in Crofton. This just completed the mission, the trifecta, if you will, because I didn't know that the Virginia ABC had picks of this until someone posted a picture. And after that, I said, the minute I see one, I'm snatching it up. Not to mention it's $25 cheaper than the Tintype and just a smidge proof points higher. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of Old Soul, man. So I had to get it. I really had to. This next bottle was one bottle that I've kind of been chasing, man. I mean, I am a huge fan of Horse Soldier. If you saw my reviews on Horse Soldier on the channel, you know that I'm a big fan of Horse Soldier. I know that they've switched some things up lately. Right now, this one says distilled and bottled for Horse Soldier Bourbon, Somerset, Kentucky, which tells me that the distillate is coming out of Kentucky. Before this, I believe the distillate was coming out of Ohio. But I'd have to go back and watch that video, because I think that's where they kind of started at and they were getting their distillate from. But this one specifically said, it doesn't say where at in Kentucky, it just says distilled and bottled for Horse Soldier in Somerset, Kentucky. Now, according to the rules of the TTB, you can only put an address and not put where it's distilled at if the distillate comes from within the same state. So if this came from out of state, they would have to tell you that on the bottle. They can say bottled for Horse Soldier. They can still say Somerset, Kentucky, but they have to put distilled in. So they have to put the state of distillation. But anyway, let's get back to this Horse Soldier. So this is a 10-year Horse Soldier. So yes, it is sourced. This is a wheated bourbon. To me, does not drink soft like normal wheaters. Now, let me tell you the proof on this thing, because the first one I got wasn't super hot, but it was high proof. I think it was like a high 120s, like 125, 126, something like that. The next one I got was around the same proof or a little higher, and it drank a little hot. This one is 134.2 proof. I cannot wait to get this thing in the glass. However, this will not be my first drink going into dry January. I mean, coming out of dry January, going into February, because this is going to be a beast. And if everything is as spicy as it was last January, this thing is going to light me up. Wow, I'm really going to have to make room. Let me cut this real quick. Continuing with the Virginia ABC theme, I'm going to get into the next bottle. This is something that I saw and I had to have. I am a big fan of Virginia Distilling Company's VHW. That is their port finished. It is Scotch whiskey that they import, and then they mix it with their own whiskey, and then they finish it in port barrels. I love that juice. They came out with a cask strength version that I just was not a big fan of. However, I am hoping that this one is different. This is an American single malt, but it is toasted. So look, right now, I've been through plenty of bottles of the port finish VHW. I am not a fan of the apple cider finish. I am not that big of a fan of the Courage and Conviction. So at this point, there's only one bottle from that distillery that I really enjoy. But hopefully, because I'm a fan of American single malts, and the fact that it's toasted will probably like smooth out some of those rough edges, maybe even give it a little bit more of like that toasted marshmallow, along with some of those earthy notes that American single malts have. So I can't wait to get this thing in a glass. Now let's get into the proof. 93 proof. That is a great proof for sitting out back. If it's toasted and is rich and earthy like some of these American single malts can be, it would be a perfect cold weather whiskey to either sit out on the back with when it starts getting to be around 50 degrees with the sun out, maybe 60 degrees. So sitting on the back, sitting on the porch. I can't wait to get this thing in a glass. All right, keeping with the Virginia ABC theme, I go in there and I have several stores that I frequent, right? And then there are certain stores that I can't get to all the time, so I might check those stores every once in a blue moon. Well, this one store that I hadn't been to in quite a while, I walk in, and you've got the John J. Bowman, well, not John J. Bowman, this is the Bowman Brothers small batch. But this is a Virginia ABC single barrel pick. Now, if you have been a fan of the channel for a while, you know that my first small batch pick came from S&W. I was such a fan of that thing that I went back and got a ton of them and started giving them out to people because that's how good I thought they were. But this thing right here, not to mention I got it on sale. The Virginia ABC was running the sale price at $31.99. I was stunned because when I saw it sitting on the shelf and I knew that they had a sale on the Bowman Brothers small batch, I was like, normally single barrel picks, really don't go on sale. Now the Uncle Near single barrels, that's different. They're just single barrels. They don't say like the other one I got from BK Miller with like a strap that says selected for Virginia ABC, or the Knob Creek. So those typically have like the little label on the bottom that says selected for the Virginia ABC. However, those aren't a different price. Normally the picks from Virginia ABC are about $10 higher. So to see this thing sitting on the shelf with a tag, and I didn't want to screw the the people working there. So I asked him, I said, how much is this? And he rang it up and he said $31.99. And I looked at it and I'm like, that's a pick. And he $31.99. Okay, I'm not going to argue with you. If that is what it is in a system for, then hey, I have no choice but to buy it for that. They twisted my arm into buying the small batch. All right, so this bottle is our pick, and like I said, thank you guys so much for helping this pick sell out. We got the email yesterday, well, a few days ago, that said that they were down to like the last 2 bottles. So we started with 2 half barrels. Pretty much that is a full barrel. 2 half barrels. We had pick 17202, and we had pick 412. So 17202, that was the cherry sex bomb. 412, that was the hazelnut chocolate brownie. This one right here they sent me is 17202. The reason why they sent all of us a bottle of our own pick was just kind of to make good, because they were having issues with shipping. I talked to my man Scott. I know he was having a little bit of issues with the shipping. Some people who live in certain areas, they weren't getting like proper shipping information. So Westward, they were apologetic. They don't handle the shipping. They do pass it off to a company who handles the shipping, but they still wanted to make good on their end. So that's why they really looked out for us. So shout out to the people at work. God, you would think I've been drinking. Shout out to the people at Westward, man. I've got mush mouth today. All right, next bottle. This one is the Armagnac. So I picked this one up. This was in the Weller Drop video. If you didn't see it towards the end, like I told you guys in the video, the fact that I do like cognac, not the biggest cognac drinker, but I do like the flavors of cognac. I like when things are finished in cognac. The old line has a single malt that's finished in cognac. It comes in at 100 proof. I love that thing. I think it's amazing, but I wanted to see what the base product tasted like, because we've got so many products with Armagnac, such as like Joseph Magnus, and there's a couple of other ones out there that I can't really think of at the moment. But Joseph Magnus is definitely one of the ones that's out there. It's another cigar batch out there that does the Armagnac, and I cannot get it right now. But either way, Armagnac is one of the barrels that they finish it in. So I wanted to see what the base product tasted like. I read some reviews on it. They say that the grapes are pretty much the same. They're some type of hybrid wine grape that they can't use for wines. However, this one is aged in black. No, the cognac is aged in black limousine oak, where this is aged in limousine oak, where this is aged in some type of black oak. Don't quote me on that, but look, I am not the biggest Armagnac guy. This is new to me too, so, bear with me. All right, next bottle up, and stick around, man, because I have a very special bottle coming up at the end of this video. Yes, it's an allocated bottle. Like I said, it's EH something, but it's a different one that I've only seen twice in the last month since I've been really, really hunting whiskey. Okay, anyway, all right, so this is the Blue Note Crossroads. If you don't know by now, I am a big fan of French oak. Love Maker's 46, love Maker's 46 cask strength. Right now doing my own little experiment like I talked about earlier in the video. I am a big fan of the Blue Note Juke Joint and the Blue Note Juke Joint, the one that's uncut, unfiltered. So I can't wait to see what this thing tastes like. Shout out to the folks at Esquire, man. He is the only one that I've seen in Maryland to have Blue Note. And I was talking to him, and he said that he was fighting to get it. He finally got it. He said he still isn't able to get the picks yet, but he's definitely working on that. All right, so this is a bottle that I had never seen before. I wanted to give him a chance. Proudly made in America. I believe it's a Virginia company. This one is Open Road Distilling. Comes in at 90 proof, says Independence Bourbon. This one is, Reston, Virginia. So, if you are in Virginia, Reston, Virginia, you know where this distillery's at. Shout out to you guys, man. I happened to see it. I walk in, never seen it before. Thought it had a very cool engraved cork. Did like, of course, because I'm a big Eagle Rare fan, did like the eagle on the front of the bottle. And then when I found out that it was local to Virginia, I was like, why not give it a shot? This one right here, it is blended and bottled by Open Road Distilling Company, Reston, Virginia. A blend of straight bourbon whiskey. So it appears, and they're probably a new distillery, and I have no issues with them sourcing, but it appears at this point that they're sourcing, because it does not say distilled in Virginia. It does say blended and bottled by Open Road Distilling Company, Reston, Virginia. And like I said, when it comes to TTB labeling, it must be Virginia whiskey as well, because it does not say another state of distillation. Wouldn't surprise me if it was being distilled at maybe the KO Distilling, because I know that they were sourcing at one point, but now that they have their own stuff, or maybe Catoctin, I don't know. But, it's definitely out of Virginia. So, next bottle on the list. I told you guys, this list is huge, man. It's longer than a CVS receipt. But this Uncle Nearest pick, I got this at the Weller Drop. Shout out to BK Miller once again. I got this at the Weller Drop in the BK Miller video. In the thumbnail, you see it. I sampled this thing when I was in the store one day to go get something else, and I fell in love with it. And had it not being for me already spending enough money that day, I would have purchased this. But the fact that they had it on sale at the Weller Drop for, I think it was $74, something like that, it was a no-brainer. I had to get it. When I got the email and they told you what other bottles you needed to buy and what the specifications were for you, and it was pretty simple. I am a member of the Bourbon Club that they have. I've made a purchase before, 120, 25. So quite a few purchases before 120, 25. So I was able to qualify to get the Weller pick. But like I said, the secondary bottle that you had to buy was one of their other picks, which was the Uncle Nearest, the Jack. There were a few others. I think it was not an old soul. It was the old stout or something like that, old scout, something like that. I can't remember. But I had picked one of my first picks of the old scout or whatever it is. I picked one of those up a few years ago. Wasn't the biggest fan of it. It just was. it was too cinnamon red hot, cinnamon heavy for me. All right, this is another bottle that I picked up, not from BK Miller, but from one of the liquor stores down here. Now, this comes from a liquor store in Waldorf. This comes from, I think it was Holiday Liquors that I got this from. This is a beautiful bottle. To me, they should have never, ever, and put it in the comments if you agree, they should have never changed the labeling on this bottle. Now they've even changed from this beautiful burgundy box to just a white and red box that looks like, you know, the wax that drips. I am not the biggest fan of the new labeling on the bottle, nor am I a big fan of the new box. And I found another store that has the Maker's Mark old rounded shoulder 46 cask strength. So I am going to be picking that up. Look, I've purchased way too many. I've purchased way too many bottles. So I don't know if I'm going to have a February haul. This January haul might be enough for February, maybe even into March. But last bottle, and I know I talked about it, and I kept telling you it was an EH something. EH Taylor Straight Rye. Now, I've never had one of these. I've only seen the EH Taylor Ryes twice, and that was in the last month. And actually 3 times if you count the day when I went to Sunnybrook, because they had everything up on the shelves. If you've ever been to Sunnybrook, the prices are a bit out of my ballpark. We'll just say that. But they had the EH Taylor Straight Rye. They had the EH Taylor Single Barrel. I think they had the EH Taylor Foolproof or Barrel Proof. They had 4 EH Taylors. They had Elmer T. Lee, George T. Stagg. They had some. They had some Pappies, but I, like I said, a little too rich for my blood. But patience pays off, because I know I was doing some hunting today, but I was doing some hunting like about a week and a half ago, and I was at the wine shop, and I filmed that store before, beautiful store down here in Waldorf, and they had one, and people, you guys are probably going to tell me I'm crazy for not buying it. I stick to my 30 over retail if I think it's worth 30 over retail, and every once in a while I will creep above that. But that thing was $99.99. Now, I know it can be super expensive, and a lot of you guys are probably saying, what, you didn't hop on that? No, because I have the single barrel bourbon behind me. I know that this thing retails now for $79.99, the straight rye. I've seen reviews on it. People said it was, better than the Sazerac rye. They said it tasted, better than the Sazerac rye, a little more well-crafted than the Sazerac rye, but it wasn't that much better. They said it was good, but it wasn't like knock your socks off. And the fact that I've had that one, and I know what EH Taylor at 100 proof is like, doesn't necessarily make me want to drop $100 on it. Now look, put it in the comments if I'm wrong. Look, it's great juice for what it is, but the bourbon, the small batch that I've seen for $99.99, especially when I went to Vegas with the wife, the single barrel that comes in at 100 proof, yeah, I don't know, man. I just didn't want to drop 100 on it, especially if I'm going to have a rye sitting on my bar, and knowing that I overpaid for it, and knowing that I'm not like blown away by it, because at $69.99 or $65.99, I can go buy a single barrel proof Jack and be head over heels. So I said, no, I am not going to get it. And then I felt bad, because shout out to my man Scott. He's in Florida. He's doing a little bit of hunting right now again. But Scott was like, hey man, I want that bottle. So I was like, okay, cool. I said, I'll double back. So I came home, did some things or whatever. And as we had talked throughout the day, I was like, hey, I'm gonna shoot back to that store, and if they have it, man, I'm gonna snatch it. So shot back to the store. Of course, somebody took both. They took the small batch for $99.99, and they took the straight rye for $99.99. But like I said, patience pays off, because shout out to my man Scott again. I was riding around doing some hunting today. I get a phone call from Scott. Hey man, people are posting that the Bradley Shopping Center store on King Street has EH Taylor Foolproof. I mean, like, I I mean, like I made sure to get to that store. Let's just put it like that. I was probably about 10 minutes away. No, I was probably about 15 minutes away, and I made it in 10 minutes. So, I walk in the store, and I'm looking around, and I see it sitting there. Grab it, but it was not the foolproof. It was the straight rye, which I'm not mad at because, like I said, patience pays off. I still wound up getting a bottle. I still wound up paying retail. Didn't pay some crazy exorbitant price. And, you know, now I'm happy. I'm satisfied. So I know this was one heck of a long video. This was one heck of a haul. Put in the comments your best bottles that you got this month. Put your whole list of your haul in the comments if you want to. And with that being said, let the whiskey flow. Never run out. Let's share it to a drop. Till next time.